All right, welcome. I want to welcome everyone to RVA Rapid Transit's Transit Talk. This is a monthly webinar where we give you news, issues that's regarding public transportation in the Richmond, Virginia region. My name is Faith Walker. I'm the Executive Director for RVA Rapid Transit. And those of you who are just joining us and we haven't met you yet, RVA Rapid Transit is a nonprofit here in the Richmond region. We're dedicated to frequent and advocating for frequent and far-reaching public transportation in the region. And we do that in three ways. We focus on seeing buses go more places, so more buses, meaning frequency, and then going more places, so especially out into the county lines. And then another pillar that we advocate for is people having dignified places to wait on the bus. So advocating for more shelters and benches, and also keeping them clean and tidy. And then last but not least, we advocate for the writer's voice. And so the writer's voice is an opportunity to elevate writers' voices in transit planning and decision making. And today is a special topic. What we're going to be doing is listening to those voices with a listening session. But before we do that, I want to go over some housekeeping. If you can remain on mute, this call is recorded, or the Zoom is recorded. So we would ask that you just stay on mute through the entire presentation unless instructed otherwise. And then we'll also have an opportunity for you to ask questions at the end of the presentation or maybe in between, but we'll give you those prompts to help us be able to make sure that we get to all the questions. If you can make sure you put a hashtag Q with your question before you answer it. Feel free to make comments throughout the presentation if something seems interesting to you, but make sure you definitely make your question stand out by adding hashtag Q in the beginning of it. Before we dive into the presentation, I want to bring on board our Programs and Communications Manager, Richard Hankins, to give us some news.
Hi, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining. As Faith said, my name is Richard Hankins. I do the programs and communications with the healthy side of policy as well here for RVA Rapid Transit. So I just wanted to catch you guys up on some news. The first thing, and we'll get more into this at the end, we are accepting applications for our third cohort of Mobility University. That will be Wednesdays in September and the first Wednesday of October. The 5-week course for bus riders, activists, anybody who wants to make their city better through public transportation, learn how to self-advocate, and learn a lot of the history and context of public transit here in Richmond. Secondly, we are really excited. GRTC is opening their downtown transfer station September 10th with an opening ceremony September 11th at 10 a.m. Some of us will be out there as well, joining the opening ceremony. So if you want to say hi to us in person, we'd love to meet you. And we're really happy. GRTC has had a temporary transfer plaza since 2014, which has basically been a bunch of bus stops on the side of the road. And so now they have a dedicated parcel of land with 12 bus bays, shelters everywhere, lighting. And one thing we're really excited about is they're going to have real-time information. So you can find out when your bus is coming and any alerts and service changes. So we're really happy about that. And coinciding with that are a number of service changes, and that can often sound negative, especially with the bus operator shortage. These are positive. The Pulse 5 and 7A, 7B are all getting minor service increases. The Pulse is getting 15-minute service all day on Saturday, and that's an increase from midday 15 minutes or midday 30 minutes. The 5 during weekdays until 7 is going back up to 15 minutes. We're particularly happy about both of these because that is the benchmark for frequent transit. And then the 7A and 7B, on Sundays, it used to only run 10 to 10, and now it's going to run 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. So we're happy to see that GRTC is rounding the corner. No more service cuts, but getting back to their pre-pandemic service levels. And if you want to learn more, there is a public meeting about it. GRTC is hosting it, not us. It's going to be Tuesday, August 29th at 5:30, and it's going to be at the Richmond Public Library's main branch. So that's all I have. You guys will hear more about Mobility University at the end of this. So I will turn it back over to you, Faith.
All right, thank you, Richard, for that news. And I'm so excited to hear that service is coming back, especially that um, pre-pandemic levels of service. So thank you for that news, Richard. All right, so we're going to go dive right into the presentation for today. I want to introduce to you two of our superstars. Without these two folks on our team, we wouldn't be able to do this work that we're doing. These are our transit ambassadors. And I want to introduce to you Sarah Weisiger and Stephanie Power. Okay. And so these are the two powerhouses, pun intended, that go out and they collect stories and concerns of our bus riders. And so I just want to just allow them to introduce themselves and just say one thing they enjoy about doing the work of engaging bus riders at bus stops. So let me add Stephanie into the conversation. And then go ahead, Stephanie, take it away. Maybe you can introduce yourself.
Oh, hello, hello. Good to be here with everyone. Yeah, like they said, I'm Stephanie. I've been with RVA Rapid Transit now since February, and a lot of the work has been showing up to bus stops with a recorder in my hand and approaching different riders and engaging in conversations and hearing what they have to share. So I would say one of the things I really like about the job and this work is connecting with people. I get to hear people's actual experience, and I just have so much respect for bus riders, you know, and I am one myself, but a lot of the people I speak with, and I'll talk to a little bit more about this later, have been riding the bus their whole lives, like 30, 40 years, you know, people with a wealth of experience. So I really like that part. Yeah. Yeah. Sarah, you gonna come on and say hey?
Yeah. Hi, Sarah here, and I share a lot of the same interests for the job that Stephanie has. And in addition, one of the things that I find really cool is the people who say the thing they like about riding the bus is a sense of community, and the sense of community that just having a bus uh, builds, and people see all the serendipitous experiences, people running into each other. And I really that was not a big surprise, but it was interesting that people talk about it. I really like that.
Yeah, and one of the things I enjoy, when I was out doing this work as well, is running into the people that I've interviewed. And they're like, "Hello, how you doing?" And that relationship has built over time. And so you run into them quite often. So let's dive deep right in. Let me give you a little background of what the writer's voice is. So the writer's voice is designed to elevate um, different writer experiences and elevate their voices in transit planning and decision making. And so one of the main things that we pride ourselves in doing is making sure that those voices are heard. Okay. And so as Sarah and Stephanie mentioned, that we go out directly to bus stops and interview folks. And it could be about different topics, whatever is happening, or just even having conversations at bus stops. So in the past, what we've done is taken these comments and we placed them in op-eds and essays. We've submitted them to different studies and surveys. And so a lot of these comments have ended up helping with the North-South BRT study that took place a few years ago with the Greater Washington Partnership. And so we interviewed a bunch of folks and submitted those comments into that study. Also, comments have been entered into the Virginia Transit and Modernization Study done by the DRPT, as well as a small zero fare study that GRTC did themselves. So, and then also these comments go directly to GRTC's board. And so Sarah has taken the charge on that. She transposes those comments into written form, but also she's sending the comments in by MP3 form where someone can actually hear them on writer's behalf. And a lot of times people don't realize that, in order to give public comment to GRTC's board, you need to be at the meeting at 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning. A lot of these bus riders are working. Sometimes those routes to that stop are every hour. Even myself being an Henrico resident, I researched that if I wanted to be at the public meeting at 8 o'clock from my home, I would have to leave my house at 5:23 a.m. in the morning to catch a bus to be there on time. And so it's physically sometimes almost impossible for a writer to personally be present and give their voice. And so that's why we created this program, so that we can collect those stories and concerns and take it right to the decision makers. Also, these comments go towards audiograms. So if you are following us, I recommend that you follow us on Facebook, social media, and even our YouTube page, where we're putting these comments onto audiograms in social media. Since February of 2023, this year, these two beautiful ladies were participating in collecting those comments. They have collected upwards of 265 comments. And since July of 2021, I'm sorry, that's not correct. So since July of 2021, when Writer's Voice started, we've collected a total of 345 comments. So I'm really proud of this work. And so what we wanted to do today is, since February of 2023, this year, Stephanie has pulled and compiled some comments that were played between her collecting them and Sarah collecting them. So we're just going to start off with the first batch. These comments really center around our different pillars. But before we do that, let's learn how to listen. So I want you to just pay attention. If you have a notepad, pull out a notepad, make some notes. You know, I'm sure you heard of active listening, but we don't have the bus writer in front of us to do that active listening and engaging. So let's get creative and just pay attention. So if there's any other devices in front of you, any news you're watching, I just really want you to focus in and listen to what's being played today. Withhold judgment. And so everybody has an experience. This is their experience. This is their world. And so, I mean, we have our own experience. So I just want us to withhold that judgment, reflect, if this was me, how would I feel? And then also clarity. We have two of the folks who took those comments. And if you have a question about the comment, if there's some context needed, maybe they can provide that to you. You can definitely do, again, a hashtag Q. And ask a question, and then summarize. So while on your pen and paper, summarize this back to yourself. Play it. What is this bus rider expressing? How are they feeling? And this will better help you listen. Okay. And I think we're on to the next one. So what's the next slide we have? All right, so here we are. So again, the three different topics or conversations that we're having is more buses, more places. So people telling us, if the bus were to go here, or what's holding it back, or the impact because a bus is not going to a particular location. What is the impact on my life? And then better bus stops. What is the impact on my life if there's not shelters and benches or somewhere for me to sit or feel safe? And then the writer's voice and general concern. So this could be anything. We go up and ask them to have any type of conversation. So whatever the bus rider wants to share with us, whether it's some constructive or complimentary, we take it. And so let's go ahead and get started. All right, and so I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie to introduce the comments for us. All right, so who do we have first, Stephanie?
All right, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so we've got Weltonet up first, and Weltonet, this was a morning I remember Sarah and I were out at Hull and Cowarden over on the south side. And yeah, we were out there for a little while, and certain days are different, right? We go out and sometimes we notice that people maybe are a little less interested in talking with us, right? And so that's all kind of part of it, is like, how do we show up and like within, sometimes it's like 2 minutes, right? Because people are waiting for their buses, things are going quickly. How within like 2 minutes do we approach someone and offer up the space for them to kind of get a little bit personal or a little bit vulnerable with us? So Waltonette was great. At first, she wasn't super interested in talking, but then she was like, you know what? Actually, I do have something that I want to share. And so her comment is about wanting to get out to Chesterfield to visit her daughter. So yeah, we can go ahead and hear it.
Hello, my name is Waltonette Williams, and I'm speaking to, what's your name? Stephanie about GRTC bus routes. I catch the A, what is it, 3A, and what's the other one? 87, going towards Hall Street. And my reason for speaking is because we don't have no buses that go to Chesterfield. And my daughter lives in Chesterfield, so if I want to see her, I have to actually catch an Uber. Ubers are very expensive. So if you all could just think about having buses go out Chesterfield. That's all. That's it.
Wow, the impact on not being able to see your family because of access. That's pretty powerful. Thank you for sharing, Waltonette. And I just want to say, before we share any of these comments or any pictures, we ask these bus riders permission to share their story, their experiences with the public, with GRTC. So I just want to make that clear. Let's move on to the next comment.
Okay, so this is Felix, and this is up at 25th and Main. And we were talking, sometimes we just ask people, what's your story? What's your transit story? And then other times we have a conversation. So Felix and I were having a conversation about, GRTC is looking at putting in another BRT, a bus rapid transit, a pulse system going from north to south. Where would you like it to go? And, the three options were Midlothian Turnpike, out Hull Street, and out Route 1. And so this is Felix's answer.
Felix Salmons. I usually take the 4A or the 4B and the Pulse and the 19. And it would be really good if y'all had a Pulse system that went out to Midlothian. It would give me a lot more access to doctors' offices and dentists. And yes, I'd like to be able to go out to my friend's business, La Sabrita Bakery, and to support him, because he's a good friend. I've known him for 20 years, and they have good products.
Wow. So access to support a friend, to support businesses. I know right now the North-South BRT, a study is being done to whether or not that the next BRT should go on Midlothian. I'm banking on it, but I'm pretty sure Felix will be very excited that would go in. All right, let's move on to Leonard.
Okay, so this is another just another situation where someone is trying to get to where they need to be and the bus doesn't quite take them there. So and actually, Faith, you might be able to answer this because the bus does go out towards Mechanicsville, right? And you can talk about it after the comment, but
let's listen to what Leonard had to say and maybe you can get some clarity.
Awesome. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Leonard Kenyon, and the routes that I take is the 1, the 3B, the 3A, and the 2. What I really would like is if the bus would take me to Mechanicsville instead of me having to get off at one stop and pay $12 for a lift to go 8 minutes, when the bus can just drop me off right down the street. But besides that, I love MTA, the transit. I love people, so I love riding on the bus and think. And I appreciate you guys for letting the bus be free for now, and I hope it continue being free. Thank you so much.
So here's a challenge. I live off Mechanicsville Turnpike. It takes me 30 minutes to get to the closest bus stop as an Eastern Henrico resident. And I know Richmond Connects, shout out to Richmond Connects. The city of Richmond is doing a study right now. They have extended their comment period. And so one of the things is they're considering micro transit in this area where it would be smaller buses that would service the area that he's speaking of. Now, Mechanicsville is a long stretch of road. It really starts like Mosby area. It hits 3 different jurisdictions, believe it or not. So a small portion of the city of Richmond and Henrico County, then it goes upwards into Hanover County. So this is a huge corridor that could definitely use service, and there is no service up and down Mechanicsville. I think it stops right at right where I think Cool Lane is on Mechanicsville. And so it does not even go past 64, where there's that I think there is a McDonald's right there into the county line. So there is no access up and down Mechanicsville Turnpike. And then I mean, yeah, you would have to either get on from Laburnum or you would have to access a bus walking further down Mechanicsville to that stop. So yes, the access is horrible on Mechanicsville. Yeah. Let's move on to James.
Yeah. All right. So James is another kind of question, like, what would it mean to you to have because he rides from North Side all the way down, he calls it still Jefferson Davis Highway. But, what would it mean to him to have a pulse route, a BRT, a rapid transit going like every 10, 15 minutes up and down that corridor?
Hello, my name is James Hayward, and I be riding the bus from Jefferson Davis to North Side area. And it'd be nice if we could have a pulse bus, because if I miss one bus, guess what? A pulse come 10 minutes behind it, and I can get on that bus, and I wouldn't have to wait 20 or 30 minutes for another bus. So that would mean a lot, because it'd be easier. Even if I miss one bus, I got another bus that come 10 minutes where I can make it where I need to go on time, and I ain't got to worry about, oh, I'm late or I'm gonna miss this appointment, and I'll be on time. So yeah, that would mean a lot to me.
Wow, frequency is huge. You have to understand that people, majority of folks who are using public transportation in our region are majority hourly workers. And so when you're an hourly worker and you have to be to work at a certain time, and it can take you upwards to 1 to 2 hours to commute to work, that's a direct impact on your income. And if your bus is late, that means you could be 1 to 2 hours late if a bus doesn't show. So having frequent access, which is a huge pillar of ours, and then what the BRT will provide is more frequent access. If a bus is late, if you're late, waking up in the morning, you have more options to get to your destination. So BRTs, frequencies are so important. All right, so let's move on to our next pillar, which is dignified places to wait. Again, we're advocating that more shelters and benches be installed throughout the region. GRTC has taken an aggressive approach on their ETI plan. And so we wanted to share some of these comments with us. So who do we have first, Stephanie?
So I think we're going to go to Ray first. And I think Sarah collected this comment from Ray. It's a pretty short but sweet one. And it just totally sums up like the no-brainer for why we need more benches and shelters at stops.
Okay.
How you doing? My name is Ray. I'm advocating for a bench to be put out at Kroger off of Midlothian, the big Kroger. They need a shelter for the elderly people. They can't stand up. They need a bench also out there. Thank you.
So did you catch that? He says they need a bench for the elderly people. They can't stand up. They need a shelter also. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, anything that jogs your memory, Sarah, yes or no, was speaking with Ray?
Oh, well, I remember talking to him, but I think a lot of times people will advocate both for themselves and other people. They'll see people waiting in that kind of thing.
That's a great point. A lot of people, not just themselves, but they see other folks in need. And so that's definitely something that we can share with GRTC. All right, let's move on to Earl.
Okay, so this is Earl. Earl's a little bit of our superstar on YouTube. I think he has like 700 views or something with the audiogram we made of this comment. But yeah, I remember meeting Earl at the downtown transfer station before it, the present and older one. But Yeah, he had a lot of good stuff to say. As you can see from his picture, if you can tell, he's from New York, so that was kind of a context for him. Like he's used to like very good public transportation, so he still had some issues, with Richmond's. But
Mhm.
let's hear it.
Yes, my name is Earl Martin. I catch the one at southbound bus and up on Walmart on Brook Road. No, Chamberlain and Brook Road. There's no stop with the cover thing, the shelter, and a bench. It used to be a bench there. They took it out, and people actually bring their carts up for Walmart, turn it over, and sit on it, and that doesn't look good. People riding by and see carts laying on the ground, and people got used to the carts to go shopping with. So maybe a little more shelter and a bench would be good, and that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm definitely noticing a trend of infrastructure around places where people are shopping often.
Hmm.
It seems
Hmm.
like there's a lack. Let's move on to Miss C.
Mm. Yeah, so actually another case of being around a shopping center. And this one I wanted to say comes with a bit of a trigger warning. Like Miss C experienced an assault at a bus stop, and
Hmm.
she speaks to that a little bit. So just be aware. She's okay, and she's very good at taking her experience and wanting to offer her valuable feedback for how the stop could be improved. So, um, yeah, I did not collect Miss C's, but I know that's like another piece to this. When you're speaking with people and they have real experiences,
Hmm.
um, when safety is neglected, when bus stops are neglected, when people's needs aren't being met, then it's like there are some real consequences that people deal with.
Wow. Let's hear it.
Mhm.
My name is Miss C. I live all the way out where Food Line and Family Dollar, all the way out Hall Street, 2 blocks from Chippenham Place Apartments. I catch the 1C in the morning. It runs every hour and 15 or every hour and 20 minutes. I have to catch the bus anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours earlier in order to get to work on time by law. I sit out here for 2 hours every morning feeding the pigeons and all that to make sure I get here to work on time every day. And then at night, it's worse because I'm a black female sitting out here by myself and I gotta wait that hour and 15 minutes. And I done got robbed out here 3 weeks ago. Where I was got robbed, beat up, that 3 females and everything because I'm out here a black woman or woman period by myself waiting at the bus stop. No license out here, no nothing, nothing, nothing. Nothing at all. But if they could change it, it'd be a great thing for anybody. I do think they need to put lights out here. So when you come out here at night, you can at least see what's going on. This is a shopping mall. I know everybody out here. We all try to look out for each other, all of us. But one thing, certain two things for sure. When they give me the pay, make us pay for that bus again. Can we get some props? I pay taxes. Can we get some lights? Can we just get some track lights? It wouldn't cost them $1 to put a track light around there.
Wow. The
Mhm.
significance of lighting in an area can completely deter. There has been studies shown that when an area is lit, it deters any type of activity such as that Miss C experienced. Thank you so much, Miss C, for sharing your story. And just
Mhm.
having to sit somewhere for 2 hours just to be at work on time. Again, that's why it's so important that buses are frequent. Wow. Thank you for sharing. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Mm. All right, so this is Kanya, and I did not collect this comment, but it just seems like pretty clear. Kanya's a nurse, and whenever, like you said earlier, Faith, a lot of people who ride the bus, most of us are working people, hourly paid employees, whatever. But we get off of work, we want to get home, and we're tired, right? So it'd be great to have a place to sit. So here's Kanya.
My name is Kenya, and my route is the one Chamberlain. And I think that we need more bus shelters. There's not enough bus shelters, and that's my main story because I have to I'm a nurse, and I have one route that I have to work on, and there's mainly no bus stations available for us to sit under because they're short on them. So my story is more shelters for the bus stations.
More shelters, more shelters.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a wonderful transit talk last week, excuse me, last month about the bureaucracy around getting shelters and benches installed. So I'm so excited about the work and the partnerships that we've created to make sure that shelters and benches can be installed with no hiccups and a lot faster. So thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to the writer's voice comments. Now, these comments again can just be anything that a conversation with a bus writer. And so,
Mm-hmm.
again, I'll turn it over to you to introduce the next person.
Cool. Okay. I'm just checking the chat. Do we have any questions so far?
Well,
Anything?
that's a good question. Any comments? I don't think I've seen any comments. I think people are really plugged in
People
and
are listening.
listening. But if you have any comment, you want us to pause, or you have questions, please drop them in the chat as we go. And
Mhm.
Stephanie and myself will definitely acknowledge them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, well, we've got, oh, I see Kim just trying to, okay, so we've got Dale up first. And this is a really good comment too. And I'm trying to remember the demographics, Faith. Can you help me out with the proportion of people who are, the age range of folks who are riding the bus?
It varies, but I can tell you
Mhm.
offhand. I mean, there was a even number. I mean, it's no real huge difference. The
Okay.
biggest one that comes out to me is 55 and up. Okay.
Hmm.
It's a quarter of folks. So that's a big piece of the pie who are 55 and up using public transportation. So that's a quarter of the folks who use public transportation. This is as of 2019. I know GRTC has done their ridership study that hasn't come out this year yet. So I'm curious to know if there's a big significant impact between the age groups, but 55 and up, I think is the biggest.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess I'm curious because, I know a lot of people have just different abilities, right? And different things with the elderly, things that when we're in our 30s and 40s, maybe if we're lucky, we don't think about as
Yeah.
much about how mobility is can be a very personal issue. So this is Dale's story.
Okay, yeah. Hi, my name is Dale Bryce. I catch the 2B. I also catch the 5. The only and whatever, excuse me. But the only problem I have is I'm vision impaired. Sometimes they will have the thing at the top on, but they don't have the voice on. And I need a voice on because it would be dark. And then at night when I get off the bus, yes, I see it up there, but I need to hear the voice to let me know
Mhm.
when my stop coming up. And that's the only concern I got. They need to have somebody to keep the voice things on. They're more the vision impaired.
Mhm.
Wow, that's
Mhm.
so important.
Mhm.
We are excited to see the new screens on the bus. I know, but you know, not everybody can see those screens.
Yes.
And so hearing is so important. So that's definitely something I think the next comment that we can share with GRTC's board. Thank you, Dale.
Mhm. Mhm. All right, and then now we've got Lima, and this is another thing, is like a lot of these comments come around to accessibility. How accessible really is public transportation? We say it's public, and is it really, really, taking into account everyone's just various needs and diverse needs? And one of those needs is when you're a pregnant person trying to ride the bus, like either you've got a different, your body's changing, obviously, so that can make it harder to get on and off. And then a lot of people have small children too that they're trying to, if the bus is your only means of transportation, that, yeah, you got strollers, you got things. So Lima spells it out for us for sure.
Lima. My name is Lima, and I usually catch 1A and also 2B. And it would be nice if they had, something for the mothers with strollers, because it's not only the people that's in wheelchairs that's having a hard time getting on a bus, like myself. Sometimes when I get on the bus, I'll be having contractions, and a lot of times the bus drivers can be rude, and also they will ride right past you. So maybe if we can like work on that, then that would be a big help. But let's not forget about the pregnant women and the mothers with strollers.
Thank you, Lima, for reminding again the accessibility and
Mhm.
the needs of people with on all abilities at this point, wherever they are. Thank you, Lima, for sharing your experience. All right, let's
Mhm.
move on to Angela.
Okay, so I met Angela down at Fourth and Broad one day, and the picture looks a little hurried because she was like trying to get onto her bus. And as you could see, well, maybe you can't, but she uses a rollator and she speaks to this in her comment. But um,
It looks
yeah,
like she's pushing a one of those walkers with the wheels.
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the rollator. And she had, I think it was a grocery bag on there too. And but yeah, she's definitely one of these people that I was talking about that has just a wealth, like such a deep wealth of experience with riding the bus. So she can tell you exactly what needs to change. And it's like, okay, like really, I thank Angela so much for sharing her time.
My name is Angela Jones. The buses I take are either from Churchill to Southside, from Churchill to Chamberlain, or Chamberlain to Southside, Southside to Chamberlain. And the buses take so long, and then you have handicapped people that ride the bus also, and it doesn't have enough. You don't have enough capacity for all of us who have rollators and wheelchairs on the bus, you know, and it's very difficult on the weekends for those who don't read and stuff like that to catch the bus on the weekends because you don't know which way to catch the buses at. You really don't know where to catch the buses at. And the app doesn't do us no good if we can't read and write, so it's difficult for a lot of us, especially when you got a rollator and some of the bus drivers get an attitude when you ask them to ramp down. You know, it's like we're inconveniencing them when really we're the ones who's being inconvenienced.
Wow.
Hmm. Yeah.
Just letting that sink in, and that's
Yeah.
why it's so important to listen to these stories, because one thing you can do is you can hear a complaint. It can be put in a box. It can be saying, a experience where the bus rider was rude. But when you actually hear someone's story and experience, it hits a whole lot different. And so
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why we're dedicated to making sure that these stories are heard, and on a level where it's the actual person's comment and their own voice. Um,
Hmm.
definitely. Thank you, Angela, for sharing that.
Hmm.
Any thoughts, Stephanie?
Yeah, I mean, I really feel this one too, like Angela's story, because if you think about it, like we know that our streets, most buildings, like most of our cities and our structures were not designed to be accessible to people who live their lives using rollators or walkers or are in a wheelchair, people who cannot walk, basically. So I just kind of feel like the impact of that, not having that experience myself, but putting myself in someone else's shoes who has to deal with this type of issue in like their whole lives for like anywhere they try to get to go, it is harder. It is a
Yeah.
lot harder. Yeah.
And even assuming that everyone has the ability to see and read.
Yeah,
And so that's
exactly.
why, back to Dale's comment, why having the ability, I mean, you could be either unable to read or you could just not see, and the ability to be able to hear when a bus is coming or a stop is coming is very impactful, and it creates an experience for anybody on all abilities or all levels. So thank you,
Mhm.
Angela, for sharing that perspective. All right,
Yeah.
let's move to Charlotte.
All right, so Charlotte shared with me that they work up at VCU, and that sometimes, like we've heard in quite a few of these comments, the bus is late or it doesn't come at all, and there's not a lot of communication sometimes when that's the case. So here's Charlotte's story.
My name's Charlotte Terry, and I ride the Chamberlain bus, the number one. It's okay. The service is okay, but it's just that sometimes the buses don't come like they're supposed to, make you late for work, and then your job penalize you for it. But if I had any other sources other than GRTC to ride the bus, I would. But this is my only source of transportation. I'm not gonna knock them because sometimes they on time, a lot of times they not. But other than that, it's okay with me. you know. So I
Yeah, I think one thing that is definitely going to improve the on-time performance is the increase of operators. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the challenges, especially with frequency. And I'm so glad to hear that there's a lot of store service being restored pre-pandemic levels because of the influx of writers and GRTC making a huge effort in hiring more people and paying more people. I
Mhm.
think will definitely help this issue a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because we do hear a thread of kind of like a little bit of tension, right, between riders and drivers, and we hear those kind of stories quite often, and it is true, like all the way around, like, okay, GRTC has given their operators a significant increase in pay. So hopefully that will, you know, people everywhere, no matter if we're riders or we're operators, we need to feel like we're valued, right? So I think that will help. I'm really hoping that will help. And like you're saying too, reinstating more frequency and just getting more buses even out on the roads. That will be hopefully very good for everyone.
And Kelly just says, I'm curious if GRTC has internal programs to help better inform drivers how to be more helpful to their riders. I absolutely agree. I believe they have a customer service portion to their training. But I think there's always room for more. I think over the pandemic, any service position, whether you were a waiter, whether you were anybody, a teacher, I think tensions were very high, and the stress level and the people are just not nice all around. Period. Whether you're the operator or the writer, I think
Mm,
we all need a dose of, hey, how can we be more kind? Um,
mm,
so definitely, I think it should be increased. More ways of how to defuse escalated situations with operators or even with writers. We can do that on our own too. I think one of the things that we can start doing as an organization is when we're talking to writers, we can start saying, hey, this is how you can diffuse a situation if it's escalated on our side. I think that could be helpful to some folks too. All right, so let's move on to the next group. Um, yeah, introduce who's next. And we have about 15 minutes, so we may need to, I think we have what, 8 more?
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So we got Reggie, and let's see, Reggie. Just like Sarah said earlier, a lot of times people will advocate on behalf of others. I also find that people will speak in their comments about others, and it's actually kind of reflected about their own personal experience. So that's kind of the case with Reggie. So yeah.
The city bus line, the city bus,
Mm,
we need to talk to the government about that. Because you need to change the whole city bus. I mean, they need to correct it. Things are not going right with the city bus. People who drive the city bus, people that be waiting for the bus and they're waving their hand, they go right past. What's the
mm,
point of having them job? What's the point of them work? You know, and then people got metal screws, and got metal in their legs. We can't run, jog, or nothing. And we try and walk to the bus stop, and the bus, I mean, by the time we walk to the bus stop, the bus fly right past us. Then we had to wait for another guy, I mean, another bus. And whatever, to take like another hour.
Again, and Kelly mentioned, is there a way to get people more helpful? We've heard both sides of the coins. We've heard stories, and we may hear one earlier coming up from Paula of how the other side of the coin when someone big, but we definitely have to have more training for operators on how to manage the public. And from someone's perspective, that operator could have been needing to get to another stop, and then maybe there's some type of rules where that operator cannot stop. But can you imagine being that person who's already been waiting for a bus for an entire hour? And either you're like our other writers who we've talked to, you're impaired, you don't have the type of mobility for you to run and catch the bus, how that feels to be left. So yes, we hear you, Reggie. So let's move on to the next one.
Okay, so this is Yalitza, and we're so lucky that Sarah is also a Spanish speaker, because we have a large population of Spanish speaking people who also ride the bus. And so this is a comment entirely in Spanish, and Sarah translated it for us. So yeah, let's hear it.
Bueno, sí me gusta que sea gratis porque a diario tomo 4 buses y me ayuda porque ahorro un poco más de lo que gano. Utilizo el 19 y utilizo el GRTC, que de Wiruló hasta acá. Y me parece bien, siempre está la hora y me gusta. Sí, me parece chévere la ruta.
Well, as of 2019, there are about 5% of bus riders who are of Latin descent. And if you can translate that for us, Sarah, please.
So you did, Sarah, and I have it pulled up if you want me to just read it, unless you've got it in front of you.
I don't.
Okay, yeah, I got you. So Sarah totally did all this work.
Thank you, Sarah, for translating.
Yeah. Let's see. So, and I kind of put two comments together. So she says, I like that the bus is free because every day I take 4 buses and it helps me save a little more of what I earn. That was that first part of her comment. And then the second part of her comment, she says, I use the 19 and the BRT, which is the pulse from Willow Lawn to here. And it seems good to me. The route is on time and it seems good. So she likes the pulse, it sounds like. But yeah.
Sarah, do you recall where you spoke with her?
Yeah, she was on 4th and Broad.
Okay,
waiting for a bus. Yeah, waiting for a bus.
Awesome. And one of the things that with our zero fare advocacy, we've noticed that folks who are on a significant or are low income, they're spending more riding the bus. It's incredibly challenging to pay the $60 a month right off the bat for the discount. So the majority of riders are spending per trip. And so this, of course, makes your trips more expensive. So just the comment of her saying, okay, zero fare has helped me save money, because if not, then I would have to pay each time I ride a bus. And that's what I could afford. And so it's so important for all, for us to keep the bus free, because as you can see, it's impacting not just communities, the Black community, but also the Hispanic community. So thank you so much for sharing that story. And thank you, Sarah, for translating. All right, let's move on to Ernest.
Okay, Ernest was a firecracker and super fun to talk to, and we don't have it on the recording, but he serenaded us also. But he's got a good kind of also, I think his comment really speaks to expanding the GRTC's care service, so that special service that is for folks with disabilities and the elderly who can't get around. But yeah, of course, like with anything, there's kind of, there's paperwork to even get approved for care. And so this is Ernest's story. Yeah.
Good morning, RVA, River City. This is Ernest Hall, Fry the Third. I just gotta be honest with you. I'm out here with RVA Rapid Transit, and they are trying to just support GRTC here in Richmond. Maybe helping them come up with more ideas to be even a better service. I use the bus quite often. I use 3A, B, and C. I use one a lot to go down Midlothian. I'm actually working now, and I can get to work on the bus line, so that's great. But there are people who, like myself, in previous circumstances where I had a job, but I couldn't get to work because the bus line didn't run there. But I know y'all have, the other transit for people who are, disabled. Well, I'm considered disabled, but I don't have I don't get disability. They might say, I have a disability, but I'm not on papers. So for someone like myself who has the opportunity to get to work but can't get there and misses that job, I mean, what kind of perhaps like uh addendums you could add to your short bus or your other transits to help people who are in my circumstances, maybe even on a limited basis until they a month or two till they get a paycheck.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Ernest. I didn't even know that there were certain guidelines to participating in the CARE program. And so he brings up a great point that, hey, I have a disability, but my disability is not necessarily documented on paper. And so I may not be approved for certain services. So, wow, thank you. Let's move on to Paula because we're running short on time.
Yeah. Let's just play it. It speaks for itself.
Hi, my name is Paula Cannon, the lady to be bus driver at Carnation this morning. She was just extremely thoughtful, kind, and wonderful. She was on time. A young lady unfortunately fell on her way to the bus, as she got off the bus and helped her up, made sure she was okay, and assisted her on the bus. That's beautiful. It really made my day.
Wow. That's so awesome to hear that a bus operator got out of her seat and helped someone. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for all the hard operators who take their time to do things like that for riders. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Do you think we've got time to keep going?
I think let's just play and then we'll open it up for questions or comments. And
all right.
yeah.
So I'll play all four in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Chanel Oliver. I currently ride the 12 because I live over that side of town. I travel back and forth to work. I catch either the 3 or the 1. I think more improvement was needed for the Pulse bus. The stretch in between Scott's Edition and Willow Lawn is outrageous. Because if the 50 is not in service, then somebody's waiting a long time for the next bus to come. If you have all kinds of appointments and stuff, you're going to be late. So I think there should be another Pulse station in between, I guess, Westwood and Malvern. At least add an extra one for the people who do live up there. And if the 50 is not running, they have another way of getting around.
Yeah, my name is Brenda, and I ride the 2C to go home. I just moved over this way. And I ride most of all the buses, and I enjoyed it because I could get on the bus and go all around. But then all of a sudden it just changed up. Like the 1C, the 1B, 1A, all that was going down Chamberlain and going to Southside. Now they changed up. So now you got to catch the 1, go to the transfer bay, right, mister? You go to the transfer bay, and then you have to catch the 1A and 1 to go to Southside. And the only thing I don't like is you're never informed what's going on, until you just ride the bus, get off, and then you lost.
I'm Alex. I take bus 2C to go to my school, and my story is that sometimes they take very long, and sometimes I have to go walking to the school, and sometimes I go late to school. So I wanted to know if they can improve anything about that, or like at least show on the GRTC map that they're delayed or they're in a stop or they won't come at all.
Okay, my name is Gloria Octave, and riding the bus is actually new to me. I haven't rode the bus since, oh, maybe 10 years, a long time. And unfortunately, I was in a car accident, and my car was totaled, and just trying to get over the drama of being in the accident and over the idea of riding the bus, and it was kind of scary. But I called the number, and they were very helpful and gave me the route I needed to take, which was the 91 connector. And thank God it was just walking distance from where I live. Yay! And then um, I came out yesterday to try it out, and I just came to Willow Lawn. I was so excited to be able to get out my house and out of my community, and so I went grocery shopping. I had a little groceries to go back, and I met so many nice people along the ride. It was just so awesome, and so today was the real deal. So I have to ride it to where I need to go. I have to be somewhere at a certain time, and so the bus it's getting me there. It's a little um, newish to me, but I think I could get the hang. I mean, even if I got a vehicle, I probably still would probably want to ride the bus just to see how many different places I can get to in the city and around town. It's just exciting.
Awesome. That was an awesome comment to leave on. I mean, the bus provides freedom of mobility. You can get to places, especially if you don't have access to a vehicle. I'm going to open it up for just about a minute or so. Feel free to go on unmute because we don't have a lot of time to read out. But if there was any comment that stuck out to you, anything that struck a point, anything that you were shocked at, or didn't realize, I'll just open up the floor for a minute. If you don't want to unmute, you can definitely make a comment on the thing. And if not, we'll move on. But I want to open up the floor. And thank you so much for listening, everyone. All right, we have a quiet bunch. I think everyone is soaking it in right
No
now.
comments? Oh, come on, y'all.
No worries. All right, well, thank you,
Okay,
Kat.
I can chime in.
Oh, yeah, please, go ahead.
Go for it, Sarah.
Since no one else is going to say anything, but I'm Sarah Pentecost. I work with Virginia Transit Association, but I've been a bus rider of GRTC for 11 years now. So a lot of the things that these writers were talking about really resonated with me personally, like waving down the bus and having it go right by you, and you know, those kinds of things, or just having to stand out in the sun on a hot day while the bus is running a little behind. Um, so yeah, it just, it made me think about how I'm not the only one experiencing this stuff, but it's kind of nice to be in a little bit of a position where I can use that knowledge to advocate for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it does add some validation to what you're feeling. I know when we have a lot of our Writers and Advocates Connect meetings, when a bus rider share an experience, then it just makes people feel like, okay, we can get this done. And then we're giving people tools to advocate. So thank you so much for your work that you do, Sarah, and for sharing. Anyone else?
I can say a couple of things real quick. Hi, everybody.
Sure.
This is Kimberly. The first guy you played, that really resonated. He couldn't hear the announcements for the stops. That does happen a lot. And also sometimes I've noticed when I ride, it might be a stop or two off. And so it's just saying a stop as you're approaching the next one. And sometimes that's not a big deal, but sometimes it's a pretty good walk. So that's a huge thing. And I can't remember the second thing. Okay, I'll just leave it there. Oh, no, I know. When he was talking, the person that talked about not knowing about the schedule, like when there are changes.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you guys know this, but I found out listening to the radio, y'all probably know, but there's a meeting next Tuesday at the library to talk about the changes with whatever routes are being changed because of the transfer station. And I mean, I saw it on the website and I heard it once on NPR, but like why isn't it on the buses? And, I just feel like they could be, I think I might write a comment for the next board meeting about that, because it's something people always say. And you don't know what's going on. And she's right. Whoever said that, maybe it was Brenda, like, you're on the bus and then they're like, oh, this stop is not here anymore or something. So
I agree. The communication, especially, we can't expect everyone to have access to GRTC's social media pages. And so how is the information being transferred and related to bus riders who are working um and don't have access to some may not have access to smartphones or the internet to know when these meetings are happening. So I agree, Kimberly. Thank you for that. And so let's go ahead and close out. I mean, I want to say that thank you so much for everyone who shared their comments. Thank you, Kim, for making that comment. And then thank you, Kelly. Kelly says, thank you all for going out and listening to these writers. This has been amazing to hear. Thank you so much for that. We hope that you would share this with other people. And so one of the things that we want is to advocate or teach bus riders on how to advocate on their behalf. If you can go to the next slide, you can definitely take action I'm sorry, that slide didn't complete there, but Mobility University. So Mobility University is a 5-week training course where we're teaching bus riders how to self-advocate on their own behalf. It's going to take place September 6th through October 4th at Richmond Public Library from 5:30 to 8 p.m. At Richmond Public Library main branch at 101 East Franklin Street. You can visit RVA Rapid Transit's website to apply. The link is there also as well. And then last but not least, take action. Ride the bus. You riding the bus makes a demand for our region. And then also to adopt a stop. If you are have the ability, we're encouraging citizens to adopt a stop by cleaning it once a month. You can visit our website to learn more information, but also share your story. As you can see, sharing your story creates validation, but we share those stories in op-eds, in essays, in studies, as well as directly to GRTC's board meeting. So we will be happy to share your story. You can call that number there, 804-286-0007, and leave a voicemail. It'll create an MP3 and we can share it and transpose it for you on your behalf. And then last but not least, donate. Please donate. Your support, consider becoming a monthly donor. Allow us to create content, allows us to go out and collect these stories and share them on a wider behalf. And then also stay connected with us. I put our link down in there where you can get all of our newsletters and all of the events that we have coming up, as well as our YouTube page. And so if you go to youtube.com and at RVA Rapid Transit, subscribe to our channel. You can view all the audiograms that we create from these comments. We post them on our website or on our YouTube page quite frequently, as well as the recordings for all of our transit talks. So until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
See y'all. Thanks for being here.